Good morning, everybody. Good morning. You are listening to John and Anthony on Behind the Goals. Yes, we're still here, Anthony. It's amazing that we're still here. We haven't had any footy in how long has it been? About a month. I don't know. I've lost my entire brain. But we are still here because there's lots to talk about. Anthony, how are you on this beautiful Sunday morning?
Oh man, I'm fading with that footy. I'm just and every article I'm trying to find is obviously behind a paywall that I refuse to get past, and it's just, it's eating me alive, man. I'm so close to actually giving into those paywalls because I just need some kind of, and I know I'm going to read the article and be like, oh, why did I read this crap? But it's still just footy content, man. I'm missing it.
Yeah, I think it's been about a month, and I think I've said on the show before, you and I are in a couple of groups and chats, and we do a lot of banter, and it's gotten to the point where I'm now being as outrageous and ridiculous as possible just to get a bite from other people so they have something to do and something to talk about with footy.
You like that kid in the corner just setting shit on fire, being like, guys, look at me.
Pretty much.
There's a fire.
Like, I really don't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that can just, talk about footy and whatnot. But there's nothing to talk about. There's no footy to talk about, is there?
It's crazy. And it's changing just like everything about how I go about my life and things I'm noticing. And they're like, I live with 3 other people. I had no idea. There's like a lady in there and 2 kids.
There's these 2 kids.
They seem really nice.
Yeah, they're fine. I mean, I've met them. They're great. They're great people.
And
but they're
like
not footy, are they?
Dogs and the cat running around, and it's amazing. I didn't realize that. But you're learning a whole lot.
Anthony, tell me, on a scale of 1 to footy, how good are they? Come on.
Obviously.
I'm sure your missus isn't watching. You're in a safe place now.
Obviously, as good as footy. I just didn't take the time to fully appreciate them when footy was there. So now I'm getting that time, and it's great.
Yeah, well, look, it is great. Footy's greater. It is the goodest thing that we have. I mean, no. Look. There's more than to life than footy. But footy is one of those things that it gives you the opportunity to kind of sit back and just relax, I guess, and just get a little bit of entertainment.
Now, here's the thing that I love about footy. It's not just there's a million things I love about footy, but one of those things that I find that if you go anywhere, you can talk to people about things that, like, I don't have to get to know people or actually have like personal conversations with people that I don't care about. But if I'm wearing like a footy shirt out and about, like, a stranger will start talking about footy, and I'll talk to anyone about footy, obviously.
Yeah.
So like, it's great. You just be standing in line at the shops and someone will be like, oh, did you watch the game today? And blah, blah, blah. And you can talk, and did you see this in the news? And did you, and now it's just kind of like, you wear out your jersey or something and people are just like, oh, can't believe there's still no footy.
Yeah. And isn't it funny? I don't know what it's like over East, but here in Western Australia, it's definitely the case where if you're wearing your footy team's jersey and somebody supports the same team and they see you, they'll just yell at you if they're not close enough to talk. Go, yeah, the Eagles, or go the Dockers.
Well, it's the other way around as well. If you're wearing, a colour that the other person doesn't like. And this is what I think is one of the best things about footy. It's that, we're told not to judge people based on, age, race, skin colour, beliefs, everything like that. But if you're wearing a different footy jumper, I'll 100% judge you.
Yeah, that's right. You're not meant to judge on arbitrary things, but
but you made a choice to support an awful team, and I would judge the hell out of you.
Wearing a particular footy jumper is not an arbitrary thing, is it? It's a choice. And
look, you can't pick your skin color, but you can pick what team you follow.
Well, actually, Anthony, you can pick your skin color these days. It's called tanning. It's very easy to do. I've never done it, but I'm sure that you have. I'm sure that you're not as dark as you claim to be.
Yeah, no. I mean, you can't see the sleeve tan right now, but it's...
He's got farmer's arms just because he's
got a year-round tan, man. I'm sorry to break it to you.
Oh, gee, Anthony, that's all right. We love you anyway. That sounded really bad. It's not how I meant it.
Yeah, no. I was just letting that go past a bit.
Oh boy, yeah. Let's move on from that. Let's get back into the footy.
We can go Anthony. A fun footy story based on that, man.
Okay.
Usually I wouldn't get into it on here because it's not bad, but we need stuff to talk about, man. So
we do.
I'll drop my fun footy story based on my skin color, and that's I was playing school footy, and we came up against Clontarf, which is an all Aboriginal school based here, which they're a very good team and very very talented, and they absolutely wiped the floor with us, like just completely destroyed us. And afterwards, they asked if I wanted to come train with them. And I was like, yeah, I'll definitely come train with you. That sounds amazing. So I went down for a training run and then got invited back and kept training with them, and then played a couple of games for them. And that was incredible. Just an amazing experience. And then got asked, they gave me this paperwork and they're like, oh, if you're going to keep playing for us, you got to fill this out so you're covered by insurance and all this stuff like that. And the first two boxes on there were Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander, and there weren't any other boxes to tick. And I was like, well, I'm neither. I'm sorry, I can't really tick a box here. And they're like, oh, you can't play for us, mate.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, all right. I'm so sorry.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
Yeah. And the boy, I've been lying about it or something. But I never once put the connection in. I was young. I never once put the connection in my head that you had to be an Aboriginal to play for that school. And that's a chance that they're given. And I felt bad taking a spot and everything like that. But it was just a misunderstanding, and it was hilarious.
But at the same time, you really do want to be playing for them because they were such a good team, right?
Oh, mate, I've never had ruck service as good as that ruckman, just straight down my throat every time.
Bit of Paddy Ryder action there, you reckon?
Oh, he was so good.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even you'd be at the midfield stoppages, and usually you've got a blocker, a receiver, and a sweeper. And I'd get to be a sweeper every now and then. Sorry, a receiver now and then, so I'd know the tap was coming to me, but in this team, you just had three receivers. They didn't sweep, they didn't block for each other. You definitely do like to receive. We do know that about you. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
And having things tapped right down your throat is definitely a preference.
Yeah, you've got to take it that way, don't you, mate? But what was really good about it was Jared Neesham was the president there at the time.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and he felt bad about the whole situation and wrote me a nice little letter of recommendation, which went out to a bunch of scouts, and that's the only reason I got looked at all. Because
so you're telling us, in fact, look, let's hang on a second. Are you sitting here telling us that you only got to the heights that you got to because you got preferential treatment? Anthony, Is this an admission? Is this what you're telling us?
I would know, but I wouldn't have been on any scout's radar where I was.
No good.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was in public school. I was, you know what I mean? Straight away, school. If you're in a private school, you get looked at straight away, or you've got to be in the top, of the association every year kind of thing to get looked at. But no, I got my name on a couple of scouts lists because of a letter of recommendation from Neesham, which I really appreciated. Thanks, Neesham.
Fantastic. Do you still have it? Do you still have that?
Oh, I think Mum's got it somewhere, probably.
Yeah, find it and post it to the Facebook page. We'd love to see it because I don't think you're telling the truth. All right, let's get off us.
Why would I lie about it?
We've had a bit of a good intro about us. People aren't here to listen to us. In fact, they're not here to listen to anything except the footy. Maybe they are here to listen to us. I don't know. If you're here to listen to us, let us know. We can spend more time on ourselves. But let's get back into the footy. And it's been reported, was it this morning? I think it was reported that we may have a return date for the footy, Anthony. They're talking about July. Tell us about it.
Well, it's one of those things where it's funny. They're like, we've got to flatten the curve. So you got these, what are they called? Epidemiologists.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce that right? I took a stab at it. It's these things where they're like, the only way we're going to flatten the curve is by staying inside. And everyone's like, all right, no worries. So we've stayed inside, and they're like, the curve's flattening, and people are like, I don't think it was that serious to start with. I mean, we can all go back to our everyday lives.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's working. So this isn't like, and there's all the evidence to suggest that, the curve doesn't just flatten and drop forever if you just go back to normal. Like, it can bounce back up. It can.
Well, let's get back onto the point of the footy, because I can stand here and argue with you about that, but I don't want to, because it's not a show about coronavirus. It's a show about footy. No, it's
to start making plans based on just this little bit of data isn't a great idea.
No, I think it's a brilliant idea.
But look at the NRL just coming out and being like, May 28, we're coming back. Like, you've got all these top scientists, medical officials, everyone saying, we don't know how long this is going to go for. And NRL's like, well, we do. May 28.
Yeah,
May 28, it's happening.
And as we know, the NRL has made really good choices in the past.
Consistently.
It's why they're such a powerhouse of a sport compared to other sports. NRL sucks, doesn't it? On a scale of 1 to the government, where is the NRL?
Oh, mate,
it's a terrible, terrible sport.
Oh,
I mean, it's a sport that you can only watch
as
on
well.
TV.
Like, oh man, I can't even. Like, I used to watch rugby union when I was younger. That was like the first sport I ever played, and even then, rugby league was too slow for me. It was
it's stop-start. It is. It's bad.
Yeah.
And they call rugby union the gentleman's sport. And I think I read somewhere that rugby league, correct me if I'm wrong, rugby league was created to keep cricketers fit in the winter.
I thought that's footy.
No, not our footy. Couldn't have been, surely. Was it? Anyway, I hope it's not ours, because I was about to bag them out for that very reason. And if it's the footy, then stop.
What a great idea that was.
Anyway, July. We're looking at July, aren't we?
It said July, August, didn't it? So is it like back training July, games in August, or?
Not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure that they've really themselves thought it through.
Look, it might just be a case of put a headline out there to keep people kind of, because their initial target date wasn't like May 31st, and that's not going to happen.
Well, I think the reason why they did it was probably because the NRL has set a date, and so rather than say, well, look, let's give NRL all the headlines, go, well, look, we could be back by July, but it means nothing, does it?
Oh, yeah.
At the moment, it's just a pipe dream.
Well, even as far as, because I think the rumor didn't come about by the AFL actually coming out and saying that they're doing it. It's that they're looking at venues at the moment and trying to secure venues just in case they're able to come back. So you've got kind of and I think that's leaked out and someone said more about it, but I think they're just putting contingencies in place. Like, they've done fixture modeling based on when they're going to come back. And they've done an example starting in July. They've done an example starting in August. I think September's as late as they've gone. But obviously, they do need to start locking in venues if any of those are going to go ahead, because they can do all the fixture modeling they want. But if it comes around to the time when they're like, yeah, we want to play now, and cricket is still or is starting up then, and they've already booked the venues, then, you can say you want to play as much as you want, but you don't know where to play.
Yeah, that's right. And so what if they do start in July? I'm not sure that they could even go later than the September-October timeframe, because if it is the situation where they're able to start up, that means other sports are going to be able to start up as well, which means they're going to be taking the stadiums. So I'm not sure that we're going to be seeing footy past October in any case.
Well, they've put worst case scenarios out there, I think, to finish the second week of December is what they're looking at. But any further than that, and then you start, it's not just a case of this season, you start eating into what happens next season.
Well, that's right. You start to take away from the breaks from the players, and then they're interrupted pre-seasons. And
I mean, they've had a decent break now, let's be honest.
True. And I live pretty close to Nat Fyfe. He's 200 metres that way. And
you went down in Margaret River.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that. But I live a couple of hundred metres from him, and he's taken in those two young rookies that started this year. I forget their names. One of them's blonde.
Sarong and Hayden Young.
Yeah, they're the ones. One of them's got that really terrible long blonde hair, and he wears those circular glasses. Terrible. It's awful.
Hayden Young.
Yeah, and then there's the black-haired guy. They look like nice guys. But,
yeah, I mean, just from what you can see looking through the window
just as I walk past. No, he actually had renovations not that long ago, and he's I've never seen the place inside the place. You can't. Everything's just like a fortress in there.
Your view from the bushes just isn't great.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But funnily enough, when they cancelled the season after round 1, it was party time at Fife's household. It was a huge party. I'll admit, it was the night that they were shutting down the pubs, and they were told 8 p.m. or 10 p.m. or something, we're shutting down the pubs. So my wife and I walked down to the pub. We're like, no, we're getting a pint in. And walking past his house, and it was a party. I think he's got a spa in there. There were people. It was rowdy. So you're right. They've had their break. Fife's been down in Margaret River doing some surfing. They don't need another break, do they?
Well, I mean, not a full. I mean, it's going to be a condensed season. They're going to go hard. Look, about that condensed season, they're talking about what? Still trying to limit the list numbers and shit as well. It's everything they're kind of putting into contingencies here is just, it's all based on when you start, pretty much, because that's all. I think the end date they've still set regardless of when they start to that second week in December. Mm-hmm. So it's just a case of how many games they're going to squeeze into each week for each team.
Well, and so the article was talking about a full return to footy, potentially 17 games, or as you said, the list changes, whatever it may be. But there is another idea that has been, I think, gaining a little bit of traction lately, and it's the idea of this AFL hub where all of the teams will go to a central location, they will quarantine themselves, and they will play their footy from this hub. Now,
I vote for Northern Territory.
Yeah, look, so do I, purely because I think our teams would be better off. But what are your thoughts about the hub idea before we get into the locations of any said hub?
All right. Well, firstly, I think it would be so looking at it from two ways. So one, the fun way of set them up as Big Brother houses. Let's just go full extent with the house. I want 24-hour access to the players. I just think that if we're going to go that way, just do it.
Brilliant. Make it reality TV, not just sport.
Yeah. Like, brilliant. Build 18 Big Brother houses for each of the teams.
That solves the money issue as well, because with extra broadcast deals, yes, brilliant.
This is what I mean, man. Like Big Brother Up Late style as well. Like, it'd be amazing. Just absolutely brilliant content.
Do they bring their wives, partners, and girlfriends? Hopefully not all of them at the same time.
No, you just keep it the footy boys.
And you want to see an Up Late style of that.
As long as Hotdogs is hosting it, I'm on board, man. Like,
Hotdogs.
I feel bad for Hotdogs. I don't know where he is or what he's doing. I just want someone to check on him.
Tell us about
I'm trying to get him work, really, is what I'm doing.
A lot of the people listening won't know who Hotdogs is. Explain it to us. Who is Hotdogs?
Well, I'm old, so I think it was like one of the first or two seasons.
I think he was on season 1 of Big Brother, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think maybe, yeah. Is he the guy that turkey slapped someone? I'm confused now.
Yes, I believe so. But he was, he played, was it 4 games of AFL footy?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 4 games for the Saints or the Swans. He was on Big Brother, and he was a menace. And I think did he go into radio maybe? Anyway, he did something.
Oh, possibly. And then he got fired for like hooking up with 2 girls in an alleyway after a bloody nightclub deal or something. Like, he's just an absolute legend of a dysfunctional human being. And but he used to host Big Brother Up Late, and it was just pretty much a game show with occasional like check-ins to the Big Brother house.
It was. So his name was Simon Deering. I just did a quick,
that is not his name.
It's Simon Deering.
Simon. Jeez.
Yeah. And so get this. He was on Home and Away for a little bit.
Before or after Big Brother?
Before Big Brother.
Bro.
He was on Home and Away. He appeared as George Fisher, a petty criminal who stole a loaf of bread from Alf Stewart. But I mean, citation. Hotdogs. Simon Deering. Yeah, Hotdogs. So he got evicted in the 9th episode of the first season, I believe. Embarrassed.
But his legend grew from there.
Yeah, well, so the what you're talking about with the arrest, and I know we're digressing here, but this is a
Oh
public
no, let's
service
just do it. Deep dive into hot dogs.
Deep dive. So he was arrested after being caught urinating in a public place, which is shocking, isn't it? I mean, that's up there with murder, I reckon. And so he said, I'm embarrassed and ashamed to confirm that I was charged overnight in Cairns for public nuisance. I mean, what a fall from grace. I mean,
wouldn't you put that on your business card? Public nuisance. I love that on there.
If you're a reality TV show host or a star, surely public nuisance on your business cards is what you want, right?
Yeah, that gets you a job as a shock DJ the next time you go through your CV.
Right, so we're going back to the hub idea. We're doing a Big Brother style AFL situation where all of the players are there. We're getting some Big Brother action, and we're also getting some footy.
Yeah, that'd be good too.
Yeah, that would be great too. That would be good. How would you see it going? I honestly believe shorten the quarters a little bit, and each team could play 2 games a week easily.
I just think the more we get into it, the more people are going to look at it as this isn't AFL. Like whoever wins this year, unless it's your team, no one's going to ever, say yet that was a legitimate win.
A bit like AFLX, right? No one's claiming that. No one's on board. I mean, it's fine to look at
any preseason competition, congratulations, you won a Wizard Cup.
Yeah. Oh, it's the TAC Cup. Who cares?
Yeah. I think it will be like in a few years or whatever, 20 years when people are like looking through the premierships they've won and their teams got listed as 2020. They won't be remembering what 2020 was. But, I just think that right now it's a case of, it's hard to say. It is. I'm sorry. I'm in two minds because at the same time, every club is going through the same thing. So it's not like one's advantage and one's disadvantage. So it's still in relative terms, it's a fair competition because every team is going through the same conditions. You know what I mean? So whether there's an asterisk on it, it just doesn't feel like it's a real AFL season is all.
Yeah, and so would you prefer it didn't go ahead, or would you prefer some footy?
No, because I need footy.
Yeah, right. But if we can sort of start with the notion in mind that it doesn't mean anything, that it's a bit of entertainment, do you think that there would still be? Yeah,
then go the full way. Like I said, Big Brother houses, like just completely commit to it.
Yeah, just
go hard. No, I think you've got to keep the integrity of the competition there. Otherwise, like I couldn't watch 17 weeks of AFLX.
Oh no, God no. No, I would rather shit in my hands and clap than do that. I would.
Well, it's like and the worst thing is that everyone's got footy people have such a respect for these players, and then you just watch them debase themselves like that. Like, oh, you don't want to be playing that.
No, you don't. And the whole thing, I mean, if we look back to AFLX, the whole thing about let's let the players go in all of their fancy clothes, and that was an abomination. Fife looking like a catwalk model there, and
rants on a scooter.
It sucked. That sucked. That was really awful. And that is what you're talking about of devaluing the game and essentially selling your soul to the devil. That's purely a commercial venture.
But that you don't look at that game in any respect and say that that's footy. It was there were barely any hits. The field's square or oval or a rectangle, whatever. It's just last touch out of bounds. You lose pretty much the point of having a ruckman in your team. It changed too much to be, and I understand it was because they're marketing it for overseas, but it wasn't people overseas watching it was us.
Yeah, that's right. Just because we wanted our footy fix, but it wasn't the footy fix we wanted.
Oh, mate, I don't think I watched every game of that last one. I was like, yes, footy's back. All right, here we go. And I'm done.
I think I watched 7 or 8 minutes of it and turned it off. It was horrible, absolutely horrible.
And it's one of those things where you do enjoy watching the players have fun.
Yeah.
Because you want to see their personality come through. And some people do like seeing it in terms of them wearing different clothes or whatever the NBA.
But they're the people. They're not people there for the footy. The ones that enjoy that.
Even and this is what we talked about earlier in the year, the state of origin. game, the All-Star game, was entertaining until it looked like a farce. So those first 3 quarters were entertaining footy. You were watching the best of the best be the best of the best.
Then the fourth quarter, so it was a bit disappointing.
Just kind of fell apart. But that up to that point, that was fun to watch. And watching players who don't normally play together interact with each other and everything, that was all great. You know? But once it got to that point where it tipped into, this doesn't seem real or genuine anymore, I turned off. And I know a lot of other people did as well.
Yeah, I didn't watch the final quarter. I mean, I watched the first couple of minutes and then turned it off myself. So definitely know what you're saying. Well, Anthony, let's get back to the hub idea now.
I know I keep pulling you away from it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right. This is great because we don't have enough content to probably even fill an hour. So if we
back to hot dogs.
Yeah, if we and in fact, him being arrested. He said he partied too hard and made the mistake of it. No, let's not get back to that one. The hub. If it was to go ahead, where would it go ahead? Now, John O'Brien came out in the media and said Queensland's the perfect spot for it. Brisbane.
We said because they've got
four stadiums.
Yeah. So what is it? It's Kazali. Is it still called Kazali? Metricon? Was Metricon Kazali?
It's Metricon. Yep, they've got Metricon.
Was that Kazali?
I couldn't tell you. I don't.
I think it might have been Kazali before they did the renovations to turn it into Metricon.
Right.
But obviously Metricon and the Gabba. And then they've got wherever they played the 2 NAB games this year.
Yeah, and the AFLW games. I'm trying to find the article. I can't find it, but he was saying there was 2 other regional ones, and then talking about the Sunshine Coast as a possible 5th. And so the idea was that there would be 4 stadiums to be used. What do you think about Brisbane as a location?
Isn't Queensland having a hard time containing the virus?
I don't know. I think they are. I know New South Wales and Victoria.
Comparatively compared to the other states.
See, now, Anthony, you've fallen into my trap because I wanted you to say WA. I wanted you to say WA later, but I'm going to reveal my sneaky little plan to you. I want it to be in WA because we rule and we've got so few cases and we're the best.
Yeah, until every other cruise ship that's circling docks.
I like docking though, so bring the cruise ships, bring them in.
Yeah, no. Well, look, just looking at it from a practical point of view, you've got the Wacker, which you can still play footy on. You've got Optus Stadium. The Eagles' home ground has 2
left lane
football stadium, 2 ovals on it. One the size of the MCG, one the size of the Perth Stadium. So you got 4 options there.
Yep.
I've played on the Fremantle training ground, and I don't think that's AFL standard. So that they're still sowing the grass or something. I don't know what's going on there. But that's definitely 4 there. The
you've
concern,
got Coburn Arc. You've got
no. That's what I mean. That's the Fremantle home ground, Coburn Arc. That's not AFL standard.
Right. Okay, but you've got Freo Oval, which I'm pretty sure comes close.
Yeah, it would. I mean, we do have a few. We do have a few of the waffle ovals, obviously.
The waffle ovals, right?
Peel and Joondalup Arena.
Joondalup Arena, yep. That's where Freo plays often. Yeah. Or sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, so they're both pretty good. Both pretty good ovals. So yeah, no, we do have a lot of ovals over here that have been up to AFL standard. So it's an option. I mean, wherever it gets it, it's a good boost for the economy. If you've got 18 teams staying in hotels,
absolutely.
Well, not 18, you'd have 16 if it was here.
Well, I think you could even do it at Lathlane. I mean, the Eagles training facility there is first class. It really is world-class training facility. It's a pretty central location. You could quite easily do 2 games, or at least 4 or 5 games a day using 2 ovals. You don't need more than probably 2 ovals, do you?
Yeah. I mean, the only issue I see is that security around the ovals will have to be beefed up, obviously, because people can be trying to get there. Broadcasting for camera positioning and everything is a bit of a headache to set up at Lathlane. They had to put these mobile erected towers up, scaffold towers, which just, they're good for a day, but you wouldn't want to keep those up in those conditions for an extended period of time. So whereas the waffle grounds do have dedicated platforms, but you're still not getting as many camera angles as you usually get in an AFL game. So you'd be missing out not having games at Perth Stadium or even the Wacker.
And you could realistically do Wacker and Perth Stadium there. You could.
Well, they're quite central to each other as well, which is
they are. And there are hotels that you could stay at, you know.
And even if you're looking at say you say the four there, you say the two ovals at Lathlane, you say Perth Stadium, you say the Wacker, they're all within 15 k's of each other.
Put them all up at Crown, you reckon?
May as well.
May as well.
Footing the bill is how.
Of course. Well, I mean, the state government has given them enough, haven't they? So.
Well, the casino's closed, isn't it? What else are they doing there?
Good. Yeah. Just put up a swag.
Put up a couple of footy teams. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you need?
Yeah, and they can use the gyms and stuff. It's I think training is where it falls apart. So
just scrap training, mate. Just scrap it. I reckon. What do they need it for? What do they need to train for?
You're right. Yeah. No. What was I thinking?
Yeah, well, if they're playing, that's training, right? 2 in 1.
No, because you're also, you got to remember, man, this is professional footy. So it's not just we're going to rock up and play the game. It's we're going to play the game. We're going to review the tapes. We're going to run into next week to say who we're going to play the next game. We're going to change our game style to adapt to that team.
Don't bother. Don't give a premiership out. Seriously, don't bother. Just say, look, we're going to continue to play. It means nothing. Why would you review it? Who cares?
Well, why would you come and play?
Well, because you keep getting paid that way. That's what they're concerned about, isn't it?
That's the other thing here. It's that player welfare in terms of how long you ask these guys to be away from their families and their support systems. And you know, I know it's all like looking from an outside point of view. You're like, man, I'd love to just go live in a state for 3 months and play footy. That'd be amazing. But not everyone's built that way, you know, and a lot of players, like there's players out there that don't watch footy. Like they have no idea. Sam Butler's pretty famous. There's one of those players who couldn't name any player except for the one player that he played against each week.
Yeah.
They don't watch the footy. Nat Fyfe has admitted he doesn't watch games. Like when he's not playing footy or training, he's not thinking about footy. And that's how they are able to separate and keep that normalcy and everything going.
Yeah.
So if you're asking these guys, all right, now you're going to do nothing but footy for the next 3 months, like that could have, you know, flow-on effects, and you know that could burn them out on the game in a 3-month period. You know, they might be coming back for the next season thinking, I don't really want to do this again.
Yeah, well, you're right. It could, and player welfare is something that we don't really tend to take into account overly.
Well, I think it's because a lot of people go, they're getting paid, they could do it.
Yeah,
you know, it's their job, they should do it.
Yeah,
but I mean, you know, people are FIFO, and you talk about FIFO living conditions. What's the biggest swing that FIFO workers do?
Well, it depends on what you're talking about, but up to 8 weeks.
Yeah, you know, so they're saying triple that minimum.
Yeah. Look, I don't think it's feasible to do the hub idea. I don't think it's going to happen. But I mean,
the other side of it is cost. Like that's probably you're going to be paying these players overtime. First up, yeah, living expenses, everything like that. To have them all shacked up somewhere for, you know, X period of time, and then just the logistics side of it for the first plane flight. WA has closed its borders. I'm not sure how other, you know, so then we're going to give a special
exemption,
to these footy players. Can you imagine, like, because it's amazing to think about that there's people out there that don't like footy, don't watch the footy and don't care about the footy.
No, there's not, Anthony.
You know, we've got one in this chat sitting there.
No, he's on board now. He's on board.
No, but this is the thing, like, they would rather see that if a flight's getting in or out, it should be going to something they care about. not
like footy.
You know, but you've got people who are like, my concert got cancelled, my theatre thing got cancelled. You know?
Yeah, you're right. I don't think it's a feasible way of going about it. I think realistically, it's something we're talking about because we've got nothing else, and we really drastically, desperately want.
Well, the reason
back.
It came up is because the NRL drafted plans for it.
Yeah.
For the same style system early on, they went to say they were going to play all games in Queensland, and I think that was originally because the New Zealand team was already there in isolation.
Sure.
Because they'd flown over and had to stay for 14 days and then couldn't get it out to get home and then be back in time to play the next game. But I think two of them just pretty much got special exemption to go home because they had partners who were having babies or something. But
okay, so do we really want to be following the NRL? I mean, it seems like the hub idea came from the NRL. The expected return date came from the NRL. What are we doing? We're better than that. Why are we just following the NRL and what they're doing?
It's because
the choices.
The AFL, and this is a first for, I think, the AFL, it's that they're not being reactionary. They're sitting back, and it's across the board on everything in the AFL right now, is they are sitting back and waiting for the facts before they're putting any information out there. But the problem is that's not putting information out there. And you've got, 800,000 people chomping at the bit for footy information, saying, where's my footy? What's happening with the footy?
Yep.
And no answers coming back.
Yep.
So any interview, any idea, anything gets talked about, gets speculated, gets blown up, gets run through the 20, because we've built it up to have this 24-hour footy news cycle now, which, I'm going to say 6 years ago we didn't have.
No, that's right, we didn't. And it's great for people that love footy, but it's not that great for people that don't. I mean, especially here in Western Australia, if you're not a fan of the footy, well, then you can't escape it, can you?
No, I mean, they get 12 pages at the back of the newspaper every week, sites like, I'm going to say Perth Now. That's not a footy site. That's a news site, which, usually has gossip news on it or whatever. But you get about 3 or 4 footy posts on there a day. If you don't like footy and you're listening on Perth Now, you're going to be getting a lot of footy on your feed. It's good to have, from our point of view, a lot of footy content. But
it's great, it's fantastic. And in fact, the more the better, because
but
otherwise the show doesn't go ahead.
Biting us in the ass because there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
And every tiny little headline's getting blown up, circulated around. And there's these people who we've built into sources of information now, especially over on Twitter, where you've got these journos who have a little tick next to their name, and everything they say and every thought they put out there gets run with because they're a journo. They've got inside knowledge. They've been right before. But they're sitting at home doing nothing, just like the rest of us right now.
Well, they need to pay their bills, don't they? And if they're
a lot of them have been fired,
they're not getting paid. Yeah.
So you've got them just speculating stuff as well, and those speculations get put out there, and before you know it, it's getting passed around pubs, not pubs now, but pub chats, I'm going to say. you know, all the different chats. We're talking about stuff right now that has come out of, where's it come out of? You know?
It's come out of nothing. And talking about something that's come out of nothing and out of nowhere, I want to get your thoughts on Mick Malthouse. Yesterday, he came out and said that...
this is on ABC Radio, I think?
Yeah, ABC RN, Radio National. It's amazing that anything said on ABC RN by anyone who is in some way related to the AFL is getting national media, right? So Mick Malthouse made some comments. Other people have responded to the comments, and it's back and forward. And of course, Kane Corns has had his little say on it. But Mick Malthouse yesterday on Radio National came out and said, round one results gone. Scrap them. They never happened. They're irrelevant. If we do start up again and round two happens, it's going to be so far removed from round one that the results really mean nothing. What do you think?
I mean, straight away, just mathematics says you're going to have a 50-50 result based on this. You've got 9 teams and 9 supporter bases saying, no, we earned a win in that first round, and that should definitely stay. And then you've got, another 9 teams who've lost saying, yeah, no, scrap it. That's the first kind of what you're looking at. But I think the reason we're seeing an overwhelming number of people saying you're an idiot, Mick, is because if you look at the teams who won those first rounds, it was West Coast, Richmond, Collingwood, Essendon, which are the largest supporter bases out there. So it's not even 50-50 because when you're looking at the supporter bases of the people who won, it's going to be more like 75-25. So straight away.
We're probably even looking closer to 8-1, 9-1 ratio there because you look at West Coast and Collingwood alone have their top 3 right there.
Yeah. And then Richmond.
Well, Richmond as well. Those. In fact, I think they are the top 3 for membership numbers. It's Richmond, Collingwood, West Coast.
Yeah.
So, you're looking at a couple of 100,000 people. And then if you combine all of the other teams together, you probably get less than those 3 clubs combined.
Yeah. So that's firstly Mick's first point of contention to get past, I reckon. But the other side of it would be Brownlow votes. Like there's these other little things that kind of wave through there. You've got betting markets, fantasy footy, all these things that took place because of that first round that now you're going to say, all right, we'll scrap that and start again kind of thing. You've got Toby Green leading the Coleman medal. I know you're not a big fan of that, but he earned those 4 goals.
Did he earn them or was he gifted them?
Well, they played against Geelong.
Who were rubbish.
God, it was so long ago. I had to scratch my brain to be like, who did they play again?
Who did they play? Yeah, it's been a matter.
Oh, jeez, it's been so long. No, but look, I can see both sides of it in terms of, it's been so long and everything like that. But still, those teams put in the effort, played the games. We went through that first round of no fans, of the weird atmosphere. Every team who played that first round was on the same footing. Every team that comes back and plays in whenever it happens, if it happens, are going to be on the same footing. So it's not a case of, of separating it because it was disadvantaged for one team versus the other. No team has had a difference there. You know what I mean? Except maybe travel, but no one tends to care about travel too much. So.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I can probably think that might be different would be the Eagles and Demons. I think the result would have been the same regardless, but they were the only teams that played after knowing that it was the last game.
Well, the Hawthorn, who'd they play? Whoever Hawthorn was playing.
I think that happened during the game, but there's no way they would have
at halftime. They got told.
Oh, they did get told. Okay.
Yeah. So they walked out of the halftime huddle or rooms getting told that was happening. So they went into the next half knowing that. So all 4 of those teams had very different experiences to the other teams. But even then, I don't think it really matters because in the context of those 2 teams playing each other, they had the same experience.
Yeah.
What I mean?
They were playing Brisbane, and perhaps that did affect it. But I think you're right. Mick Malthouse is probably just him wanting to remain relevant, or it's just one of those things that
God, he wants to coach again so badly as well.
Yeah.
He puts it out there every other week. He's like, it's in your DNA. It's something who you are. It's like Mick Nolan wants you back.
Well, let's do a little pivot on that then. If Mick Malthouse were to coach another team, say this year, which team would it be?
This year,
let's say the season, let's say for next year, 2021, but based on this year's movements, which we know there will be a couple. If he was going to come back and coach, which team would he be coaching next year, if any?
I'd throw him St Kilda.
Yeah?
Now,
You
don't
think St Kilda's going to do better this year?
No, well, this is the thing. I know they've already got Rutten as their coach and everything like that, but Mick Malthouse never seemed like I can build this team up kind of bloke to me. You've got to give him a ready-made team, go hell for leather. He doesn't plan for the future. He doesn't we saw that firsthand at West Coast where he just absolutely ran them into retirement instead of building up through. When he left, they dropped out because, his sole focus was, I'm playing finals every year. Yeah. And they did. They played at finals every year of the 90s. But it's, even at Collingwood, he came into a pretty much ready-made team and then took them to the grand final. I think he's a good coach to give a team that is going all in.
Yep.
And I think St Kilda went all in last year by recruiting Ryder, Hill, Howard, Hanbury the year before, Zach Jones, and there's one more somewhere. Hill? I said Hill.
Hill, yeah. One of them. Langdon.
Anyway, the 5 they picked up last year were 5 senior players. They've traded out their first round picks for like the next 2 years. So they're not really in a position to rebuild anytime soon anyway. So I'd give him to Mick and say, Mick, what can you do with this team? Can you get us a premiership or 2? Yeah. Just, and know that in that decision, they didn't just go hard with the players they drafted. They went hard with the coach they drafted. And then no matter what happens, they know that in 3-4 years, they're going to bottom out and have to start again. But they went hard now. I mean, that was obviously a question without notice. So off the top of my head, that's kind of what I'm coming up with there.
Well, look, I actually expected a little bit better from you.
Who do you think?
No, I don't know. It was without notice for me. I didn't plan the question. It's just coming up as with my thought process.
Yeah, I think he wouldn't give anything to a team like the Suns. I don't think he'd give anything to a team like Freo or anyone like that. I wouldn't throw him into a younger rebuilding team because I don't think he's that type of coach. Yeah. I think when he's got to that point with teams, that's when he's been moved on. And that was really only Carlton where that happened to him. But at Collingwood, he probably would have coached there another 2 years if they hadn't had that succession plan in place with Buckley taking over.
Buckley, yeah, which to be honest, really did them wonders, didn't it? I mean, Buckley's been a fantastic coach for the Collingwood footy team.
Look, I think it's worked out now, but I think the transition did not go smoothly.
No, there was a couple of years there where it was a bit rocky, a bit shaky with Bucks.
Because Buckley came in and wanted to shake things up.
Yeah.
And a succession plan isn't shake things up. It's here's the team we've made
and continue
here's what we've trained you to do. Carry on this path. But Buckley came in and said, well, we can't have Dane Swan, Dale Thomas and Heath Shaw running around together because they're bad influences on each other.
Yeah.
So he came in from this isn't building the club the way I want it to go from a cultural point of view. Whereas Mick is I don't care what you do, win the game kind of coach. Yep. So it just showed the different styles of coaching and, why I don't think Mick would suit a up-and-coming team. And I know that technically St Kilda are an up-and-coming team still because they're not up there, but I think the plays they've made in the trade period, they need to be going all hell for leather now because they've got nothing in the bank.
Yeah, they've sort of pushed it as much as they can. It's not going to be a future team, as you said. Talking about future teams and younger players, last week we discussed raising the draft age to 19. And this week...
And scrapping this year's draft?
What's that?
And we said scrapping this year's draft, yeah?
We did say that. So we said scrap this year's draft and we said move the draft age to 19. We discussed it. There's a couple of senior or ex-senior players, a couple of club greats who have backed the plan to lift the draft to 19. Jordan Lewis and Lee Montagna. They've advocated for it. So it's getting a bit more traction. And with players of their ilk, Lewis and Montagna, absolute legends.
What I like about those two names, I haven't seen this anywhere, so this is new information for me. What I like about that, though, is that these guys this isn't Wayne Carey coming out and saying, well, back in my day, like he even said the other day, my era was the greatest era of footy. No one wants to say that, but my era was the greatest, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. These are guys who are playing recently. So they know the trials and the stress that a footballer is going through right now. You know, that's what you want to. That's the guys you want to see commenting on footy right now. I don't want to hear about Brian Taylor's experiences right now.
Yeah,
I don't. You know, that doesn't mesh with how footy is played right now. Even Chris Judd is possibly a little too far out of the loop right now.
I would agree with that. I think Judd is too far out of the loop. Yeah.
Even all right. So Montagnier has been out of the game
4 or 5 years, maybe longer.
You know,
I don't know. Yeah.
But I think he's kept his hand in with coaching, and he's doing a lot of media work. Whereas Judd's gone into the board. He's up in the president's suite.
Yeah.
You know, like you want these guys who are connecting with the players still, who are talking to them, who know what they're going through, who know what their training loads are like. And then in turn are seeing 18-year-olds come through. Because, and this is what we kind of, I think, touched on last week, but I didn't give a great reason for, I think. But your top 10 draft picks, say, they're going to be great this year, they're going to be great next year. It's not those players we're projecting right now. It's the players who go from pick 20 onwards. You know, it's the guys who get picked up at pick 40 who need that few years in the system before they can have an immediate impact, you know? So I 100% agree with it. And it's good to see that you've got these guys who know the experiences that these players are going through, advocating for it because... Well,
so Montagnier raised some really good points about it. There was a couple of reasons why both of them advocated for it. With Montagnier, he wanted to see kids finish school and then dedicate themselves to a normal life outside of footy first. And that way when they go out, experience the world, and when they're in the AFL, it's not simply going from school to this essentially what is another school system, you know, with you've got coaches and you're treated like a child to begin with and as a rookie, and you build your way up and you get some more responsibility and whatnot. They're going from one schooling to another type of schooling. But what Montagnier says is that if they go out and experience the real world for a little while, they'll come into the AFL being more emotionally equipped to handle it. They're more developed and they're ready to go. And so that's one of his reasons there. But a second reason... So just
to touch on that reason.
Sure.
You were kind of talking about this last week in saying that you're worried we'd lose players who were possibly coming through on that path and then might get waylaid.
Yep.
Now, this might sound harsh, but could that be cutting dead weight?
You know what? It could. It very well could. And you're leaving the door open to people who are really dedicated to their craft, who... you know, may have done really, really well in the AFL, but never got the chance for someone, let's say, played a couple of games and dropped out. Look at Tom Swift, went off to be a doctor, you know. If there is someone looking at it from good,
are we giving richer families more of a chance there? Because you look for a year off school, you know, when you're at school, you're getting, is it Oz Study? As a, you know, you're working part-time, you can make enough to get by kind of thing. But once you finish school, you've got to be doing something. If you're talking about giving them a gap year, you know, they might, you know, start uni, you know, but not every player goes to uni, you know. So then they might go, well, I need to make money right now. I'll go work as a labourer. I'll go do this, you know. Then suddenly it's, well, I can't make training because I'm working, you know, 40 hours a week because I need to be able to live, you know, whereas players coming from a richer background who've just gone through private school kind of thing, come home and live with their parents for a year.
Well, I think it's certainly a consideration, but going back to what you said about the dead weight, if a player is, or if a person straight out of school is dedicated enough to want to play AFL, regardless of how much they're working, they're going to find time to train. They're going to find time to, you know, maybe not play as much as they would like, but they're still going to train. Of course,
but is that an even playing? It's already not an even playing field, but
it's certainly not an even playing field. And as you said, I don't think it's even anyway. But you know, there can certainly considerations. But I wanted to talk about Montagnier's second consideration as to why he thinks this is a good idea. It would reduce the number of coaches at a footy club. They wouldn't have to have so many coaches to look after these players, because they would be more dedicated, they would be a little bit more skilled at life, and they would be there to do a job rather than needing to be babied. What do you think?
So you reckon it's going to cut down on the player welfare system?
That's what he's saying, or that's what I can only imagine he's
look, possibly, but I mean, just talking from my own point of view, I don't think that's the coaches that need to be cut. Like, I don't want to see as many guys sitting in the box as we have the last few years. Like, you've got coaches for defensive lines, forward lines, midfield, ruck coaches. You've got, then you've got your high performance managers. You've got all these guys sitting up there in the box right now who are all contributing to the soft cap salary, who are all, doing their part in game day and everything. But if you've ever sat up there or ever seen exactly what's going on, like, they're all just feeding these little bits of information to the main coach, who then has to make a split decision on that anyway. A lot of the time, the coach isn't even listening to these guys.
No,
because he's got, or they're like, or the coach will yell out to one of them, we need to stop this player, figure out how.
Yeah.
Or figure out how that last play happened. You can have dedicated coaches for that, but I think right now there's just too many coaches across the lines anyway, that that's where the game's getting too deconstructed. And you do have teams out there where they say there's no cohesion between the midfield and the forward line. It's because they've got two different coaches. There's no cohesion there because the forwards are being told to run one way and the midfielders are being told to kick somewhere else.
Yeah, you're right. There is too many coaches, and so
I'd be looking at that before I start looking at player welfare, because I still think player welfare is something that is, while we're on the right track now to looking after them, it's shown how badly it can go by the past.
Well, here's the thing, though. There isn't any talk of welfare coaches. He just said lessen the need to have so many coaches. I mean, we've inferred you sort of maybe the assumption we're making, but what if they were able to remove, say, an extra ruck coach because the players that are coming in are more equipped to deal with how or being coached. They're more mature and they're more able to take on that coaching quicker than some of the younger players. Do you think that is a possibility, or?
Well, that's saying they've got an extra year of footy under their belt and they'll come in with that. That's not, I don't think, a life experience. That's footy experience, which 100%, if they're going to walk out of school and then full-time play a year of footy in the Waffle or the Sandful or wherever, and they've got the ability to do that, they're going to come out better players and they're going to come out. But will every player have that chance? What percentage of players will have that chance?
It's certainly an interesting question, and I just want to quickly go to Jordan Lewis said the same thing. He felt similarly, and he used Isaac Smith as an example of being more developed, being ready to go. Isaac Smith went off and did a university degree, and he finished that degree and then went into the AFL. And Jordan Lewis is basically saying that he saw that was the case, and it was better for him and better for the club. And so I think definitely the life experience thing, but what you're saying there about the development is probably true as well, right? It's probably more of a consideration, would you say?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think from Jordan Lewis's point of view as well, he came out of a very successful team at Hawthorn. Obviously he went to Melbourne later, but I don't think he would have seen as much and be able to comment on as much as Hawthorn as Melbourne as he would as Hawthorn, because he was there for all that period of time, saw lots of different players coming through, how each of their experiences turned them into the players they are. But he was also there when Buddy Franklin, Jared Roughhead, and I think Sam Mitchell, is it? No. Hodge, possibly, all went in the same draft. So he was there through some very good drafts and saw some very good players coming through, but they were all top-end talent players. Hawthorn hasn't really, they found a few random, I think Sicily was in the 40s. I think Sam Mitchell was picked 30-something from memory. They have found a few of these rougher end of draft players, but probably not as many as other clubs have had to, because they relied on those early draft picks that they got at that time to form a nucleus of a team. And then they just started trading in ready-made players, and and topping up from there. So like Brian Lake, James Frawley, all these guys who came over to bolster their team. Even why did Lewis go? Lewis and Mitchell got taken out so they could bring in Amira and Tom Mitchell. You know, they're not going through the draft as much anymore. So, you know, I'm kind of on the fence about it, to be honest. It's hard. But
I think what we should do, Anthony, is let's go away and, I mean, we're at the end of the hour here. Let's go away and think about this and come back. I want you next week, I want you to come back with a plan.
I'm getting homework.
Yeah, you're getting homework. I want you to come back with a plan for the draft system. I want you to actually rearrange and restructure the AFL, every aspect of it, every single facet of the AFL. I want you to go
Sounds
away.
like amazing listening for everyone next week. That's a terrible advert for next week.
Well, this is the
While
thing.
we're at it, I'll design how the hub system will work. I'll call up Hotdogs, see if he's interested.
Excellent. Yeah. I was going to suggest that. Yes.
That's why I check on him, really.
We're actually for next week. We are going to check on hot dogs, plural. It's not just one singular hot dog.
Do you reckon he just goes by Simon now?
No, it's definitely still hot dogs. If
you're sitting in a bar somewhere, being like, hot dogs.
Hot dogs.
That name in years.
Hot dogs. Well, look, I tell you what, if you're listening, anytime this week, we're going to reach out to Hot Dogs. We're going to try and get him on the show. We can't make any promises, but we are going to try and do it. I'm going to do that personally. I'm going to try and find out where he is, what he's doing, and whether or not he wants to have a chat.
Operation Hot Dogs.
Operation Hot Dogs, yes, we're getting it trending. Hashtag Operation Hot Dogs. We're going to do it for next week. Well, Anthony, thanks once again for taking time out of your Sunday, and for anyone listening or watching our beautiful faces this Sunday morning. Thanks very much. You've been listening to Behind the Goals on DRN1 with John and Anthony. We will be back next week with Hot Dogs, our special guest. Thanks very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.
Yeah.